Hi there, folks. Welcome to another episode of Stone Storytelling with Rex, wherein I get stoned and I tell you stories from my past. Pretty simple. As you can see, I have my storytelling flannel on, so you know it's a legitimate story. And hiding out of frame are my shorty shorts, my Magnum PI shorty shorts. Gotta love the moose knuckle. Today I'm also sporting a t-shirt from my friends at the Louisiana Beard and Facial Hair Association, based out of, you guessed it, Louisiana. Um, they've long been personal and professional friends, and so I'm always happy to support them. Today's story is entitled "The Origins of the Moustache," that being this thing here. Naturally, I wasn't born with it, so I had to come from somewhere, and there is a little bit of a story behind it. Today we're going to be enjoying some mystery nug run wax. I don't know the variety, which is why it's a mystery. But it's pretty fucking tasty. So we're going to go ahead and give it a go. Also enjoying a delicious St. Archer IPA. St. Archer beer from San Diego, California. One of these days, I'm going to spring for a new piece, and hopefully, when I do, my girlfriend won't break it. Using the same shitty oil rig as we were before. If someone wants to send me a cool one, I'll totally use it. And tell everyone how wonderful you are. I suppose I should have probably put more gas in this before I decided to start. But looks like we'll make something happen. Now, gonna have to fill this up. All right. So, a little bit of background, I guess. I do run a men's grooming products company. It's called Rex Wax. You can find it online, www.gentlemanrex.com. We are in the midst of transitioning into being a full-service men's grooming company. Started out just offering mustache wax, and did that for a number of years, and we've since expanded into beard oils and shave oils and pomades and balms and soaps and all that good jazz. So if you find yourself needing to spiff up your look a bit, head on over to gentlemanrex.com. Check it out. While I do say they're products for gentlemen, lots of ladies use our products, including two wonderful bearded ladies. Anyhow, that said, I think my torch is going to be ready to go. Whew. If you're ever in San Francisco, California, and you're finding yourself needing a glass piece or a torch, I suggest you look anywhere but Haight Street. They have the worst fucking glass up there, the shittiest torches, and because it's Haight Street and this like hippie tourist mecca, they really tax you on the prices. Unfortunately, with the way San Francisco is structured, there's not really a lot of areas in town where you're just going to readily find head shops just hanging out outside of Haight, which sucks. So here we go. Mystery Nug Run. Little bloop bloop bloop. Little something something. Ooh, come on in. All right. origins of the mustache. So, this particular story takes us back about 2007. So, 7, almost 8 years now. I had started dating this young woman who was, at the time, she was 18, and she was the younger sister of a good friend of mine. Now, this young woman had just had a baby with another young man, and they had since split up because he was an abusive bag of shit. No need to go into it. But we got together, and this is... oh. So we got together, started dating, and we're together for about 2 years. I raised her son from an infant up to 2, almost 2.5. I taught him how to walk. I taught him how to talk. I taught him how to play the harmonica. He called me daddy. Just normal family raising kid stuff. Now, I mean, it was a tumultuous relationship, to be sure. We broke up a couple of times. But it was one of those things. You break up, but it's hyper passionate when you come back together, and things seem like they're going to be great and better than ever. And because you're young, you think that you need to put up with everything, and so you struggle on through. Well, one day she came to me and she told me that she was pregnant. And I was stoked. Because, here's a little boy that I've been raising for 2 years, calls me dad, and now I get to have one of my own. Like, I was overjoyed. My brain was on that family track. So, we started talking. Well, gosh, what do you think about maybe getting married? Let's do this. If we're gonna do it, let's really do it. So she's pregnant. We're going, month, 2 months, 3 months in, I think. 2 months in, something like that. And we're looking at rings, and we're talking about, kind of time frames for getting married and where we want to do it and all this kind of stuff. And at the time, we weren't living together because she and her mother were staying with her sister and her sister's boyfriend, and they were all living for free, and it was kind of just this big deal. And I had my cousin living with me. So, it was all this big plan. Like, we're going to come together, we're going to find a place, we're going to get married, we're going to, have our family and go about our lives. Well, one day I'm at work, and we're talking on the phone on my lunch break, and her phone cuts out and dies. And we've just been having a normal conversation. Not fighting, not disagreeing, just like, this is what's going on in my day, how's your day, blah, 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 how you feeling? So I tried calling her back with, what time was remaining on my lunch. No dice, not getting anything. But I don't think anything of it. I just figure her battery on the phone went out, or she's in some poor service area, and, whatever, I'll talk to her tonight. So I go back into work, and I'm doing my shift, and, I figure at some point I'm going to hear a message from her, and I don't. And I get off work, and I try to give her a call and say, hey, how's it going? We were talking, and the phone died out, but, I just got off work, and wanted to see how you were, should I come by? Phone doesn't answer. Goes straight to voicemail, which means that it's turned off. So I'm a little, kind of worried. But, again, not making a big deal of it. I'm not one of those obsessive people. I figure, you know, maybe she's doing something. I don't know. Whatever. She'll get back to me. She's a grown woman. Um, and the next day comes, and I tried giving her a call on my way to work, see how she was doing, see what she got into last night, say hi, tell her I loved her, and there's no answer. And now I'm starting to get a little bit worried. But, I still have a job to do, and so I go in and I punch in and I do what I gotta do. And I get ready to go on my lunch break, and I grab my phone and I send her a text, and she doesn't respond, and I try calling and she doesn't respond. And, now I'm like calling her a few times because I'm pretty genuinely worried, because she's usually really on top of communicating with me and, talking to me and calling me and waking up and saying that she loves me and all this sort of thing. So to not hear from her for this amount of time is unusual. And I get to the end of my shift on the second day now, and I'm properly freaked out. I don't know what to do, and I've called her mom, and her mom's not answering the phone, and no one is responding to my calls, and I've knocked on the door at the house, and no cars are there, and no one's answering the door. And I'm panicked. I don't know anything else that I can do now. I call my mom, who lives 450 miles away, and she jumped in her car and was down there in 5 or 6 hours. So my mom meets up with me, and I explain to her everything that's going on, and she says, well, let's get in the car and we'll go and see if we can find her. Let's, drive around neighborhoods that, she works in or, has friends in. I said, okay. So we went over, driving up by her work at the restaurant she worked at, and I could see inside that she was serving tables. Now, I'm a food service guy, and I'm also not an asshole. So I'm not about to go into the restaurant in the middle of dinner service and be like, oh my god, hey, you haven't answered your phone for 2 days, what's going on? So I decide, well, let's see if I can find where she's parked, and I'll just, we'll just hang out, and, when the end of the night comes, I'll, approach her and just say, I'm like, hey, are you okay? I'm worried about you. And now keep in mind, if this were just some regular relationship with a young lady, and I hadn't spoken to her for 2 days, I would not be freaking out and calling my mom and showing up at her work. Not that guy. But when we're talking about someone who is pregnant and has a child, and this is a child that, is for all intents and purposes your son, to not hear from them suddenly and unexpectedly for several days is alarming. Anyhow, sitting in the car with my mom, panicked, waiting for her to come out. And finally she does. She's coming out to her car to get some cigarettes. She's having a break from her tables real quick. And I jump out of the car and I run up to her and I go, oh my god, are you okay? And she looks at me like I'm a crazy person. I said, I haven't heard from you for 2 days, 3 days, something or other like this. And, we were just talking and the phone cut out, and you never called me back, and I couldn't get a hold of you, and I tried, all these means to reach you. Did something happen? Are you all right? And she just looks at me and she says, I'm not doing this with you right now, and turns around and starts to walk away. And I say, what the fuck are you talking about? I run in front of her and I'm walking backwards. I'm like, babe, you gotta talk to me. Tell me what is going on. Why did you disappear? What is this about? Why are you so upset? I don't understand. And she looks me dead in the eye. And she says, I had an abortion. I've been cheating on you. I don't know if it was yours. All right? There. Now what are you going to do about it? And she lights her cigarette and walks off. Naturally, at this point, I collapsed in the dirt on the ground and started sobbing uncontrollably because, my whole world had just been ripped out. Um, as I'm laying there in the dirt crying, some people walking up the sidewalk coming from the restaurant that she worked at saw me there in the dirt, thinking that I was some drunk homeless person, decided to spit on me. So I picked myself up and I wiped the spit off. I tried to dust off some of the dirt. I went back to my mom's car just blubbering. And I explained to her, as best I could through the heaves and the sobs and the near vomiting from abject misery. Um, Conveyed to her what happened, and I asked her to take me to a friend's house. And she did. And I spent the night at that friend's house, and then the next day I went back home. And I remained completely catatonic for like a week and a half, 2 weeks. I, I didn't really move. I just laid on the couch. I know I don't think I ate or didn't eat much. I really have no memory of the time. I know that I lost a lot of weight, and I know that I didn't shower, and I know that I didn't shave. But I kind of got up off the couch one day and went in to take a shit. And as I stood in front of the mirror, washing my hands at the sink, I looked up and I realized I had a mustache. Now, up until this point, I'd only ever, grown a tiny little goatee right here. I could never really get much in here, and, to this day, it's still kind of pathetic, to be honest. But I had noticed that I had just gotten this little mustache that I could grab the points of right here. And I looked at myself and I was like, wow, fine. But you got a mustache, bro. That's cool. Mm. And it was in that moment that the page turned, and I realized that I could go on. I mean, granted, it was going to take me another year or two to really fully recover, but I realized then that I could carry on. So I took a shower and cleaned myself up and shaved everything else out, so my mustache was even more prominent, and headed off to the drugstore to try and find some mustache wax. And that was it. That's kind of where it all began. That's the birth of the mustache. Now, we will continue this story in another installment, and that will talk about the origins of Rex Wax. So, thanks for sitting through my 20 or so minutes of heartache and pain. But I guess the moral of the story is that through great pain and great suffering come great mustaches, or great beards, depending on how you roll. I get a lot of compliments about my mustache from people, and I actually had a handful of Japanese tourists ask to take photos with me yesterday at Pink's Hot Dogs. It was pretty hilarious. But it's always funny to me when I get these compliments on my mustache because, it's a fun enough mustache. Most of my friends have mustaches that are, out here and beards that are past their belts. So I always feel, Like this is sort of a humorous little thing across my face. But, stoned and rambling now. That's some good shit. Alright, well, I'd had some point that I was coming to there. That's the risk of taking dabs and telling stories. Anyway, thanks for joining me. That's been Stone Storytelling, Episode 10, The Origins of My Mustache.